5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Challenger Connection number 11. As you can see, I'm all by myself today. I'm missing Commander Jennifer, but she's healthy at home. The first 10 videos that we recorded while we were still at work and able to be close together. So now you're going to see us live from our homes. Well, today we are going to do an experiment that's kind of based on what we did with the foil boats, if you remember way back on Challenger Connection number 5. And so today, though, we're going to use an egg to talk about density. Now, if you remember from our last lesson, density is mass divided by volume, and mass is the amount of stuff in an object, and volume is how much space an object takes up. Well, density is just comparing the amount of mass to the amount of volume in an object. And so we talked about density, that water has a density of 1. And I have some things that I just picked up from around the house or around the yard. And basically, things with a density more than 1 will sink. Things with a density less than 1 will float in water. So I have this foil. It's all crunched up here. And I'm going to throw it in my cup. And as you can see, it floats. So that means foil has a density less than 1. Then we have a rock. What do you think will happen? Will the rock sink or will the rock float? I think it's going to sink. And sure enough, it does. Now, I'm going to get my hands all wet, get that rock out of there. And then I found a stick that was laying in my yard after one of the last storms. And I broke a little piece off. So, of course, the stick is wood. And if you've ever been down to the river, at the riverfront, and you've seen logs floating in the river, based on your prior knowledge, what would you think this stick's going to do? Of course, it's going to float. So boats really have to think about density when the engineers are building the boats. Barges are very flat, maybe how some of you built your foil boats. And so density is very important, how things are shaped, how much air they have in them, how much mass, how much volume, comparing that. So let's go to our egg. I just have a raw egg from Kroger that's coming right out of my new dozen there. So probably with a holiday coming up on Sunday, you might have a lot of eggs around the house. And it's a raw egg. I've not hard-boiled it. I've not done anything to it. And so I want you to think about this egg. Think about its mass, think about its volume, and think about its density. Is this egg going to sink or is this egg going to float? What do you think? All right, let's see. So I'm going to put the egg over here, and it sinks. It kind of bounced up. I kind of had some buoyancy a little bit, but then it went ahead and it sank. Okay, so let's think about water. Let's think about water having the density of 1. And so what could we do to this water to make this egg float? Because right now, the egg has a density greater than the water. Good thought. We need to make the water more dense. Well, how are we going to do that? Maybe you've heard of the Great Salt Lake in Utah. I used to live there. Maybe you've heard of the Dead Sea on another continent. And what do those two have in them? You're right, a lot of salt. And salt makes that water more dense. And so if the water is more dense, then you need something heavier, or I shouldn't say heavy, something with more mass to sink. So let's try to make this water more dense. Well, you may have noticed sitting here, I have some salt and I have a tablespoon. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in tablespoons of salt until the egg actually floats. I'm going to make the water more dense. So if you go to the Great Salt Lake or if you go to the Dead Sea, you will actually float. You can't sink in those because all the salt in that water makes it more dense than your body. So we're going to make sure my spout is open. Good. And again, make sure you ask about using these supplies. So we're going to count. There's 1. And you don't need to stir it because you don't want to break the egg. There's 2. Oh, it came up, but it went back down. 3. And I'll shine a light here in a minute so you can see. Still not floating. There's 4. Let's shine our flashlight so maybe you can see where it's at. Can you see that? All right. Put it up a little ways. All right. Still not floating. I think this is number 5. Sometimes I get to talking and lose count. All right. Nope, still not floating. 6. All right, let's see. Where is it? I'm going to put my finger in there. Nope, still not floating. This one's going to use a lot of salt, it seems like. 7. Whoa. No, not yet. 8. Not yet. Still down there at the bottom. I'm going to run out of salt. 9. It's trying. Oh, there it goes. It's right there at the top. I don't know if you can see it, but it's floating on the top. So it took 9 tablespoons of salt to make that egg float. All right. So if you don't have enough salt to do that, have an easier experiment that you could do for density. Just take a little clementine or even an orange. If you used a regular orange, you would have to use a bigger cup, or you could even use a bowl. And I want you to think about whether you think this tangerine clementine would float or sink in the water. Go ahead and do it. And it floats. So what I want you to do is now I want you to peel that clementine, and I want you to see if it sinks or floats. I want you to make a prediction. All right? So I hope that you enjoy this experiment. I hope that you post the results in the comments on our video. We miss Commander Jennifer. She'll be next on Monday. So join us then, and please let us know that you're enjoying our Challenger Connections. This is Commander Melissa, over and out.